Liam, thanks for joining us. I guess if we just start right at the beginning of your footballing journey, really, and just expand on how you managed to get into football in the first place.
I just think growing up with a family that were really into football, from my dad to brothers, um, being around it a lot from Saturdays to Sundays, sort of going around watching them and sort of being brought up with it really. And obviously it become a quick passion of mine from a very young age, and is still to this day.
And where did your management career start? Because you're still a very young manager now, and I know you've been in the game for a few years. So where did all that start?
Um, I think I got to sort of 27. I was at Redditch at the time as a player. I'd just come out of playing in the National League, so my motivation for probably playing had sort of started to die, I suppose. And coaching and going into football management was a passion from maybe a few years before. So it was always something I wanted to go into. I was lucky enough to get an opportunity at Redditch, so at a really good level. The club at the time, over the past couple of years, had been hovering around a relegation zone, and I sat down with the chairman, had an idea. At that point, I was watching a lot of sort of games lower down because the finances at Redditch were not great. And I'd identified probably 6, 7 players, young players from sort of county football under 18s, and thought we could sort of get them in and be better than where the club was finishing. So, like I say, the chairman gave me the job at 27, and it was a fantastic opportunity, considering I've had no sort of managerial experience, and it sort of took off from there.
You've not done bad out of it. Has it all just been learning on the job, I guess, for you? No time to sit back and relax because you've had quite a lot of success as a manager.
Yeah, I think it's yes, learnt on the job. I had a lot of good people around me when I was playing, in terms of from a managerial point of view, and how I looked up to them. Wanted to stamp my own sort of framework on what I wanted to be as a manager, but did take a lot from others. And like I say, I had a really good time at Redditch. Um, was there for 3 years, and managed to go from sort of relegation battlers to nearly getting in the playoffs one year and then actually making it the following year. A number of players moved on into professional football as well, so it was a rewarding 3 years, and got an opportunity to go and have a look at the Northern Prem. Again, just trying to learn. So I went into the Northern Prem with Hednesford and had a really good time in that. And I was fortunate enough to then get a National League job, which come very early. I decided to take that, and the project at Solihull at the time, was really, they were probably going to get relegated, and me be there in the Conference North, but I think as taking over and as being as positive and as confident as I wanted to try and keep them up and stay in there, and we managed to do that. And there was a massive turnover of players, and it was difficult because the National League is a next level. And bearing in mind, we were a part-time team in a full-time league. The lowest budget for me, probably the National League's ever seen. And for me, the reward was I did it with a lot of players that played for me at Redditch and at Hednesford, and we managed to stay up. Things following season, the club got took over and ended up coming out at Solihull, and chairman at Rushall gave me a call and asked me to come in, and I'd come from step 3, and I love managing, and there was a big project here in terms of the club having a revamp. They were down the bottom, so to come into Rushall, it was more so to just keep them up for the season, and then for me to probably look to see if I could, get as high as I can. And I've been here ever since, and the club's gone from strength to strength in terms of the infrastructure of the football club. We've obviously got into the playoffs the season before last, the first time in the history, and obviously we made history last season with getting promoted as well. And now we find ourselves in the Conference North as a village club. We're up against it every week, but we're enjoying the challenge.
I was going to say about you now plying your trade in step 2 with Rushall. When you took over, did you ever think that was achievable?
I think for me as a manager and my staff, we thought we could. We've got into the playoffs at step 3 before with no money, and we knew that coming in here would be tough, but we felt like over a number, and we always look at 2 to 3 seasons to build that sort of core and for everybody to be understanding of what we want, we could have a shot at it. And we did turn ourselves into very quickly sort of, playoff contenders. We're going to be there or thereabouts. And then obviously we had a fantastic back-to-back season at step 3 and obviously got promoted. But the dream of coming in and getting them promoted, it was always something that we wanted to try and do. Was it realistic at the time? Probably not. But it's hard work and determination and having a good group of players that have gone on to achieve, like I say, it was the greatest season in the club's history last season. And we went and won a treble. For a number of seasons, we've won the county cups and stuff. So we've had a lot of success. And I think to win a playoff semi-final on penalties and to win a final on penalties, you need that little bit of luck. And when you're sort of down and there's certain parts of a season where you feel like you're not getting it, it's come back and we've had that. We've obviously our goalie saving penalties in the shootout, which, got us promoted.
Just rewinding back to your playing days and the crossover to becoming a manager, was that when you was playing, was that always something that was in the back of your mind that you might one day go into management or coaching?
Yeah, I was playing under a manager that I really enjoyed playing for, and I knew I was going to get to the stage where I didn't feel like I would have had the motivation to probably carry on. So I always say to players now, sometimes it's a contradiction coming from me to play as long as you can, because obviously I didn't, I haven't put boots on in a proper game of football for 11 years. But it was really exciting me wanting to go into management, and it's a completely different sort of way on a Saturday waking up to manage a team than to playing. And the crossover for me, it was tough, and I think yes, we've had success at the level and at clubs we've been at. There were times when that success never looked like happening, and I think at Redditch there was a game where we went out in the FA Cup to, I think it was Atherstone, who were step 6 or 7. The Redditch fans were booing, and I genuinely thought it's probably not for me. And at 27, it was difficult to take, because you are the person that sort of takes all the responsibility. And I did speak to the chairman that night to sort of say, look, maybe this isn't for me. And to be fair, he gave me a lot of confidence, spoke to some good people around me who told me to sort of carry on. And I think it was that moment where, I was so close to giving up that I didn't. And fortunes changed. And I think we had a couple of games later, we went away to Burnham, and we were 2-0 down, man sent off. It's sort of deja vu again. It's looking like another loss, and we end up winning 3-2. And I think from that day, everything seemed to change. I think the confidence within myself, the group that I had, because it was a very young group, so it was very easy to lose 1, 2, 3 and go on that sort of losing run. And we sort of turned a corner, and we went and we just become. It was such a great team to manage, really young, enthusiastic. A lot of the players from that team went on to play professional football, and I look at them now, and there's some in the Championship, and you're thinking it was all from sort of that time at Redditch where they all dug in as well, and it was having. And I think what it has done as a football manager for me, it's everything is about teamwork and camaraderie, and that's what we've built over for me since I've been a manager. That's been the driving force behind the success. I think tactically, yeah, they have to implement things, a style that you implement. But I just think I always have good groups that will go out and work hard for each other and have a good bond. And we are a family. And I say every pre-season, the tough times that we're gonna sort of face, we do it together, and we're going to be down a number of times. We're going to have to pick ourselves up, and I think having that sort of bond, with the players, whether that's because I'm still young in terms of as a manager, I'm still young and I'm still in touch with, what they want to do, what they talk about outside of football. Friendship has been like a massive part of me being a manager. I like to make sure I know what the players are up to, what they're thinking about, and have that good relationship with them. And like I say, for me, that's carried me to where we are today.
You mentioned being at Redditch and being booed off the pitch and being this close to giving up. Why didn't you give up? What was it that kept you going?
You know what? I think sometimes it's things you don't actually know about. In terms of, I didn't know how resilient I would be. I think losing games of football, I say it to the players now, you decide what my weekend looks like. If you win, I have a fantastic weekend. If you lose, my weekend's over. And unfortunately, that is it as a manager. And I know I've said it numerous times last season that managers will say, don't get too high with the highs, don't get too low with the lows. And I'm honest that, no, not for me. I'm absolutely on cloud nine when we win. When we lose, it's the end of the world. And that's the way I am. And I think the players know how much winning means. And sometimes it's that winning mentality. And I think if I look back at the Koval game, it's, we're drawing the game at the time and we come in and I think one of my players has said, well done, lads. And for me, and it was a real bust up at half time in terms of things being thrown, my voice being raised, and you're either looking at it thinking this is either going to work or it isn't. But I was that passionate that we weren't going to leave without getting to the final, because I'd already experienced it last season, and how sort of disappointing, and for a week on end and being on holiday in the summer knowing we got beat in the playoffs, and it was like we weren't leaving without getting a result. And for me, it galvanised us that day. And I think going into the final, it was very calm and chilled, and I think we just felt like we were going to go and get promoted, and you can just feel it sometimes. And I always look back on the tough times, because I haven't had loads so far. I know I'm going to have more in the future, and this season's, is always going to be really tough for us. But I do look back at the time at Redditch, and I found something within myself, that sort of extra bit of drive, and I think it's carried me now. So I can deal with things better emotionally as well. And I've been in so many scenarios now as a football manager, whether you're getting beat in the last minute, whether you're scoring a last minute winner, you're doing really well in the cup, losing the cup game, which you thought, FA Cup, could have went and gone and played, a league club. So I've been in a lot of scenarios at such a young sort of age, a young sort of start of my football career. But like I say, for me, Redditch will always be that time where I sort of found myself, and I knew what I wanted to become, and I knew what I needed to do.
The life of a football manager, hey? October is Black History Month, an opportunity for everybody to sort of break down the barriers of the stigma that might be involved in sport. Did you have any reservations, any concerns, any potential barriers in mind when transitioning from a player to a manager because of that?
I think obviously it was something at the time I didn't think too much about, because from being a player straight into management, you don't really realise the barriers that other managers struggle to break down, especially sort of culturally. And going into management, I was so focused on being the best I could be, and I always believed that maybe doing well would give me the opportunity. And I've been fortunate enough to have some good clubs, some good chairmans. But speaking to other managers and then sort of really getting in touch and speaking to lots of black managers, an example. And I think non-league does so many, and we're all trying to sort of break that door into full-time football. And it's been leaning on sort of each other. I've got some real close friends that are black managers at step 3, at step 4, and we're all trying. And I think the main objective is we have to do well to be noticed. And I think when I went into Solihull, I had so many messages from managers I didn't even had come across from different leagues. Effectively, being a black manager and having that heritage and being like, what an opportunity, being maybe inspirational to them. But it is something where it's for us to look towards the top end of Premier League and look at black managers, and there isn't any. And over time, I believe that will change because I think there's so many in non-league that will get opportunities. And I think we play on Saturday against Chorley and Andy Priest, who I played for long time ago when I was in my early 20s at Worcester. He's the manager there. He's a black manager, and sometimes it is great to be on a touchline together, and I did it numerous times last season. And we are all striving. Are we getting enough opportunities? That's another question. I think I've always been, I need to go and do well. I think I've worked for 3 good chairmen who have never mentioned, and treated me and helped me sort of develop, and have always supported me. And like I say, it's for getting promoted last season and to seeing some good young black managers doing well. We are sort of an advocate for giving them support. And I've got friends in the league, and I think it's different as a manager. I think if you look at players, you've got Rashford who done so much in terms of education and stuff. So you look at the inspiration as young boys who can look up to football players and sort of Saka and Bellingham. And it is nice. I'll work in education, and to see the boys running around and girls running around playing football, especially with obviously Bellingham coming from being local. Them talking about Jude Bellingham and wanting to be him rather than a Messi and Ronaldo now, and it's great to see, it's great to hear. And I think as a boy growing up, you can always look at black football players because there's been so many very, very good ones. I think as managers, it's been difficult to look up to somebody and go, right, this is it comes from culturally is the same as me. That's always been difficult, but we are striving to make sure that we can, hopefully in 10 years' time there'll be managers like myself who are looking up to Premier League managers and who are black and who have had good careers but gone into management and are managing in the Champions League and stuff like that, and at the top end of the Premier League. It'd be fantastic.
I think you've hit the nail on the head and covered everything there, that barriers are being broken down, yet there are still barriers to break down. What advice would you give to maybe black athletes that are out there currently that might be scared of taking that next step forward because of any potential barriers that might be there for them?
I think for me it was, there's a barrier there, but it's there to be broken. It's there to be removed. And I think if you, for me, it was always go and be the best you can be. And I think it would have been very easy, back at Redditch to just quit. And again, just be another number of, tried it, didn't work. But, I stuck at it. And, for me, I want to move and manage as high as I possibly can. On the flip side of that, to do that, I have to work really hard. Do I have to work extra hard? Okay, if that's the case, then I'm willing to work extra hard. And I look at some of the managers that have been in the league, from sort of Darren Moore, looking at him and Chris Powell. And there has been a number of managers, Paul Ince, there has been a number, but we are looking for that want to really go and break that barrier down. And as soon as that happens, then for me, there's enough managers. I think whenever I go to seminars, there's so many black coaches at professional football clubs. I think it doesn't get talked about enough. A lot of the Premier League teams, League One, League Two, there's a lot of black coaches that are part of a success, but it might just be that they're not at the forefront of it. But hopefully, those coaches, if they go into management or opportunities from sort of non-league managers that make that step up and do well, then obviously it'll be fantastic for everybody and give that inspiration.
Thank you for spending the last 20 minutes with us and sharing your life experiences. I'm sure you are an inspiration to many, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much.